the new transit app open to show who we are now.
You are listening to Unscripted Moments, a podcast about propaganda. On this episode, I am delighted to welcome John Samson Fellows and Climate Action Team's Director of Programs and Strategy, Laura Cameron, to the podcast to discuss the new song 50/50 Funding. The song is in support of Climate Action Team's 50/50 funding campaign for better public transportation in the province of Manitoba. In this conversation, John and Laura tell the story of Manitoba's funding issues for public transportation, their personal connections to public transportation in their own lives, the writing and recording of the song, and the music video and artwork by Christine Fellows. All relevant links for what we discuss can be found in the episode notes. Please enjoy my conversation with John Samson Fellows and Laura Cameron. Laura Cameron, welcome to Unscripted Moments.
Thanks for having us.
John Samson Fellows, welcome back to Unscripted Moments.
Glad to be here, Greg.
John, you need little introduction on this podcast, obviously. So, Laura, I'm wondering if you can kick us off and just tell the audience a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Sure, yeah. So I am the director with an organization called Climate Action Team Manitoba, and we are a small but mighty team doing climate advocacy, campaigning, and organizing here in Manitoba. So we do a range of different campaigns. Right now we're working on one related to public transit, which we'll talk about, and we also work resisting new fossil fuel infrastructure projects like gas power plants or pipelines that are being proposed to go through Manitoba. Advocating for the solutions that we need. More wind. We have huge wind and solar potential in Manitoba, and as paired with battery storage. So doing research and running campaigns on those solutions and trying to, engage our governments in moving forward on climate change.
Wonderful. Well, Laura, I'm looking forward to actually kind of diving into your work a little more on my own time, because I see that you have published widely, Globe and Mail, Winnipeg Free Press, peer-reviewed journals. So it's cool because here I live in Buffalo, New York. We're right on Lake Erie, and we have so much wind here. It's windy every day. So I'm looking forward to digging in to some of your work as well. And, maybe see if I can get some ideas to send along to my own local folks that care about these things. So I'm looking forward to being inspired by the work that you've been doing for the last 10 plus years. Are you a born and raised Winnipegger?
I'm not actually. I'm from Vancouver originally. Well, I kind of grew up a little bit all over the place, but I've been in Winnipeg for a decade, actually, since the 50/50 funding agreement was ended.
Yeah.
2017. That's when I moved to Winnipeg. So I'm really happy to be here.
Wonderful. Well, you just mentioned 50/50 funding. And so, John, you have a brand new song out today. Called 50/50 Funding. It's out on your Bandcamp at vivatvirtute.bandcamp.com. I'm wondering about, it addresses public transportation issues in the province. And I'm wondering if you can just tell me a little bit about the history of what has happened in recent years that Laura just alluded to as well. Tell me a little bit about what's been going on there in the last decade or so that led you to writing the song.
Sure. Well, again, as Laura mentioned, so the province kind of ended their matching funding back in 2017 and to municipalities. And so transit has always been in a battle with cars, with fossil fuels, with poverty. Transit is one of our best solutions for all of those things. So public transit, free or affordable, consistent, reliable public transit. So I feel like the cards are always stacked against it, and have been my whole life here in Winnipeg. So it's certainly something that I've noticed, my whole life here, and has been part of my activism my whole life. When I started getting involved in community activism in the early 90s, transit was one of the first things that people kind of roped me into.
Mm. Well, John, I mean, I've listened to your music for a long time, and some of my earliest memories of your music involve lyrics that tie in public transportation. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your own like backstory, like dating back? I know you wrote about a little bit about your parents in the
Yeah,
blurb for the song. Tell me about your history with public transportation, just as a user
sure.
of the services yourself.
Yeah, my parents met on a bus just outside my office here on Ellis Avenue in Winnipeg in 1966. They were both going to school, which is just down the street here. The University of Winnipeg used to be United College. And so I guess I owe a lot to Winnipeg Transit in that sense, just my existence.
Mm.
But I started taking the bus as soon as I was allowed to, which was quite young, I think. So I remember just like getting on the bus and going downtown with my friends in, like when I was 12 and 13 and just wandering around downtown. And it really allowed me to explore the city that came to be like um, the place I think about and care about. And yeah, so and transit has come up. Yeah, you pointed it out. I didn't really think about it before, but transit always kind of plays a role in my songs from the earliest to just now.
Yeah,
So
it's like a full circle. It's very cool. Um, Laura, what happened in 2017? And I know that Wab Canoe comes into this as well. I would want to talk about like 2017 and then now as well. So tie this story together for us.
Sure. Yeah, well, actually going back a number of decades further, the 50/50 funding agreement where the province matches municipal transit operations budget was created in the 1970s, and it was a pretty like unique Manitoba solution for incentivizing municipalities to come to the table and ensuring like a fair distribution of transit costs. And that has been in place for the most part. There was sort of an on and off period, but for the most part, for like almost 5 decades. And then it was ended in 2017 under the previous conservative provincial government. And, when in opposition at the time, Wab Canoe and the NDP really advocated heavily for the 50/50 funding to be brought back. And they really, emphasized how important it is for supporting functional transit operations. And yeah, then fast forward to now, when the NDP has been in government for 3 years, I think,
Been
and
a while, yeah.
yeah, almost 3 years, and they have not moved forward on restoring the 50/50 funding agreement. And 50/50 isn't going to fix all of the transit issues that we have in the province, but it's sort of first step, I think. It's like a foundation, get us back to where we were at in terms of provincial investment in public transit, and then we can kind of move forward from there. So yeah, that's the story.
Wonderful. Laura, what do you like about working with artists and musicians like John to help with these advocacy efforts?
Yeah, well, it's not every day that on our on our campaigns we get, star power behind us, musical star power or like a theme song. So that's a first for our team, and we've been really excited and grateful for working with John and Christine on the music video. Um, and yeah, I think, like our work in social movements broadly is to sort of envision like the world as it could be in a better future and to really like fight for that despite like you mentioned all the resistance and the odds stacked against us. And I think like John's music in particular does such a powerful job of that as well. And so I think this song and the music video that goes along with it that shows, this kind of fantastical um, transit bus moving through Manitoba in a stop motion animation, just, helping us envision like what a better transit system could look like. It can be enjoyable. It can be, you can get on the bus and read your book and, meet your future partner in
yeah.
some cases, or listen to a podcast. Or we were talking to this youth the other day in Brandon about the bus ponder, like just being able to let your mind wander. Like if you're driving, you're stuck in traffic, you can't do any of those things. But
Oh, bus ponder, that's a great
a
phrase.
yeah, a bus ponder.
Write it down. Write it down, John.
Yeah.
But we need the system to be functional and reliable, and it needs to take you where you need to go if you're going to be able to, have the luxury of a bus ponder.
I grew up in Missouri in the middle of the US with no public transportation around me to speak of in the suburbs, deep in the suburbs. And so when I moved to England, took a job out of university, rode the train everywhere, it was mind altering because I found myself feeling creative and feeling daydreamy and like seeing scenery and just feeling so much more content and relaxed in the world. And so I've always wondered, like, why can't everybody see it this way as well? What this opens up for you as a person, as far as like your mental happiness and wellness, to be more involved in, getting from place to place, but not having to be like worried about rear-ending somebody the whole time. It
Yeah.
just changes you.
I think
Um,
my favorite like writing experience as a writer has been taking the bus to the library. So like thinking on the bus, writing in the library, thinking on the bus on the way home, and that's been the magic kind of formula for me. So those two things, transit and libraries, are like the things that I really want to advocate for.
well, you've done that as well. If anybody hasn't heard Millennium for All, definitely go check that song out too. John, what are we hearing on the recording? Who is
Right.
involved? Tell me a little bit about just the nuts and bolts of the song.
Sure. So I wrote the song after consulting with Laura and her pals at Climate Action
Team.
Climate Action Team. Sorry.
Manitoba.
We had a nice conversation about what they wanted the song to be about, what the issues were, and I was excited to be able to sing the word Flin Flon
Yes.
and Abanuji Mikana. Those are two things that I love to say to myself anyway in my head, so I was glad to get them into a song. And so I wrote the song and Christine recorded it, and then we sent it off to Rusty Robot, who you may know as Rusty Robot. He was the Weaker Than's traveling guitar player for many years,
Mm-hmm.
a wonderful musician and producer. And Rusty now works for the after school leaders program here in the neighborhood where I work. And it's an amazing program where kids, like, I think grade 9 to 12, after school can have access to instruments, to recording gear, to video production. And they make all these incredible things. So Rusty got them to sing on the song. That's who you hear singing on there. And then Rusty played all the instruments as he's always done throughout my life. He's made me sound better than I actually am. So yeah, it was a thrill to work with Rusty again. It's been so long and yeah, I'm just such an admirer of his work. So that was a thrill.
Who's Will Grierson, the
Yeah.
mastering engineer at Collector Studio? Who is he?
So, good question. Will is a new friend. Will and Art run Collector Studio. It's again in this neighborhood, so I feel like almost all the work was done right
Right.
here in West Broad,
Cool.
which is really nice. And they have a small studio that seems really cool, and they do some great work there. Yeah,
You said it's in the West Broadway neighborhood.
yeah,
It's so funny having been to Winnipeg a couple times now and having a sense of the geography because I can picture myself walking in that
right.
neighborhood exactly. Like the Rainbow Resource Center's old location is right over there, so
Yeah, exactly.
I can envision the neighborhood in my mind just from my
Yeah.
couple of visits there.
Yeah,
Um,
and it's interesting too because it's like we could walk to the ledge from here, right? The legislature where all these decisions are being made and so it really impacts like the people sitting in those offices are really impacting what goes on in this neighborhood right now and throughout Manitoba. So I don't know, it's an interesting intersection of all these all these things.
Yeah, well, earlier, Laura, you mentioned Christine Fellows, who did the music video. Maybe both of you can comment on this, but I would love to hear about Christine's process and what she goes through to make these videos because it's so
Yeah.
cool. And she also did the cover artwork as well, not just the video, but the cover art. So all the
Yeah.
visuals here, all Christine Fellows. Um, whose
Yeah.
record Roses on the Vine I absolutely love, but uh, visual artist as well as fantastic musician. So maybe tell us a story about the music video too. I know Christine's not here to speak for herself, and I wish she were,
Right,
but
right.
maybe someday.
Well, so it was Megan Mast who works with Laura. Um, I think, approached Christine and asked if Christine would make the video. And Megan went and helped Christine make it. So that was,
Cool.
I think it was really interesting for Christine because I think no one's ever really seen how insane her process is.
I want to know about it. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's really like starting from scratch, doing tiny movements, working like 12-hour days for a week, basically, is what she does to make those videos. So
Wow.
Yeah, Megan said like, yeah, we spent like I was there for 3 hours yesterday and 3 hours today, and we made two scenes, or we made like
yeah,
we cut out the two buses, and we thought a lot about like the composition. I was like, how long is this going to?
yeah,
What did we ask her for here? Like this is
yeah.
wild level of commitment. But yeah, it's so amazing.
She's
Very, very
yeah,
cool.
it's kind of her nature to like dive into something like that. So it's beautiful. Yeah, and she was really thrilled to I think thrilled just to yeah, again to have someone there with her and to yeah, be a part of the process like yeah, the collaborative process was really strong in this project. Like it just seemed like everyone put in something and yeah.
Well, it's like the John, like you told me once upon a time in our last conversation about the family store kind of feel to Vivat Virtute, and this project is just sort of a collaborative thing. So it's really cool to hear all the people that are involved. And then we have the cover artwork too, which I'm
Right?
looking at it and it looks like it's a map of downtown Winnipeg in the background, and then in the foreground there's two figures cut out who are like celebrating. But
Yeah.
then it looks like there's a provincial map, so it's
Ah.
like the provincial over the local. Is that correct?
Good question. Christine sent me the art. I didn't have much. She was like, "Here's the art for the band camp." And I
Oh,
said,
oh,
"Thank you."
yeah, I see it. It's the downtown Winnipeg like riverfront with the bridge, and then I do see Selkirk in the background, and Long
Ah,
Plain and Sandy Bay and Dog Creek.
sure.
So are these like the bus lines on the figures that are cut out?
Well, some of them are, yeah. So like one of the things also growing up, I would take buses all over Manitoba, especially up to the Interlake. Public, well, they weren't public, they were private, but there were bus routes everywhere, right?
Hmm.
And that's a real something we tried to amplify was the lack of buses in the rest of Manitoba, both municipally within towns and between towns, right? So yeah, that was kind of a purposeful thing that everyone should have the right to transit. Sometimes these movements don't make it beyond the perimeter of Winnipeg, and it's really important that everyone in Manitoba have access to affordable public transit. So yeah.
So I'd like for you two to kind of be imaginative here with me. Let's bust out our imaginations. In an ideal world for a place like Manitoba, which if we're thinking about places in North America, has a relatively low population, relatively small population. Like I can kind of envision it because I lived in Saskatchewan for a couple of years, and
Right.
you have a massive place that only has like 1 million people in it when I was living there. So, what is the ideal public transit system like for a province the size of Manitoba? Like, what would be an ideal end goal to reach, like some kind of like ideal end goal in the future?
Laura should take this one.
Yeah, Laura, hit me. What do you got?
And, I think the we should have like transit systems in municipalities that are, over a certain size. And then we should also have, like John was saying, buses that can move people between communities. Right now we have like it's basically non-existent to take public transit between even like Brandon and Winnipeg. Those are Manitoba's second biggest city and the capital. There's only a bus, I think, for like medical.
Yeah.
Hmm.
There's no public transit, and it's like a
Two and a half,
two and a
yeah.
half hour drive.
Hmm.
So, we should have a bus that goes like every hour on the hour, or at least like once a day or
Yeah.
every couple hours. And so that Steinbach also is another sort of nearby city where that doesn't have transit to Winnipeg. It's only like a 45-minute drive. And also then, northern Manitoba, of course, like I don't know that exactly what a functional transit system would look like, but between Thompson, for example, and Winnipeg, we should have regular service. There are some private lines right now, but all sort of reviews say that they're not very reliable. There's a lot of turnover in these companies. They're very expensive. They're not always very safe. Um, and other sort of major northern First Nations, like even having a bus route that connected a few communities so that if need be, someone could get to Nelson House and then take the bus from there or
Yeah.
whatever. And yeah, I think, within municipalities, like in Winnipeg, there's a lot of, um, I would say, dissatisfaction with the transit system right now and sort of a lack of trust. People don't really believe that the bus is going to be where you like be there when you need it to be there,
Yeah.
and take you where you need to go because it isn't very reliable. There aren't enough buses on the road, and there are, I think, some gaps in service. So and they don't go like late enough at night and things like that. So we need a system that, can meet the needs of at least the majority of people, and to be something that people will choose because it's like the obvious choice. It's like easier than driving and parking and,
Mhm.
sitting in traffic. It's more enjoyable. And right now, there's lots of people who use transit, but I'm not sure that it's the
Yeah.
most enjoyable that it could be.
It's true.
Well,
Take it all winter
yeah.
and love it and then ride all summer. But yeah, it's not always easy, right? Like sometimes it's yeah. I
Well, and
guess
if we also think about like the loneliness aspect of people today,
yeah.
everybody's alone in their cars in a box meant for four or five people, but you're by yourself, so you don't have to interact with anybody, which means that the community gets farther apart instead of closer together. And so there's also a social element of keeping a cohesive community that is building something together instead of everybody being apart. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure. Yeah.
I
And if
think
fares were reduced, like if we
yeah.
had free transit, that's part of maybe the utopian
Yeah.
dream, then yeah, it would be a lot more accessible for people and I think a much more like social experience.
John,
Yeah.
I cut you off a moment ago. Where were you
Oh
going with
no, I
that?
was just thinking about what my ideal one would be, and I guess it would be more authoritarian in that I would steal everyone's car keys, and then we would just rely on each other, rely on public transit, rely on walking and helping people who can't aren't mobile. I would make exceptions, of course, um, but they'd all have to come through me.
Um,
That's great.
so Laura, where would you direct folks' attention who are listening to this chat? Where can they learn more? Where do you want people to go and read up? What can they do? People who might be interested in this cause and in your
Yeah.
organization.
Yeah, so this campaign is really about bringing people together who want us to see better transit in Manitoba and, making the government hear us. So we really encourage people to join us in this fight. There's a big like community organizing component of the work. And so we have a new website called nextstop5050.ca. That's sort of the name of the campaign. Um, so that's a great place to go, and people can sign up to get involved in the campaign or just to show their support. Or if you have like a union or an organization, we have, I think it's like close to 15 different unions and groups who are involved in this coalition and have endorsed the campaign. We're hoping to build that out over the summer. So we really want to show, transit, like it affects everything. It affects healthcare, it affects workplaces, obviously, schools and students being able to get to school. So there's a wide range of angles that people come at this issue from, and we want to try to tie those together. Yeah.
Wonderful. And
Also on
oh yeah, go ahead.
Instagram, Megan would I'm sure like me to mention
Yeah.
we are at Climate Action MB, so that's
Cool.
where we are on Instagram.
And your website for Climate Action Team is climateactionmb.ca, correct?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, great. John, where can
Hmm.
people go to support your ongoing projects? I know that you're constantly posting like new stuff as well. Where can people find your works that you are working on these days?
Damn, that's a good question. I can't remember the names of the websites. I think it's Bandcamp is Vivat Virtute.
Yeah.
Um, what is that store we have, Greg? It's
You
called
do have I think that you have a .com too. Don't you just have vivatvirtute.com? Oh, it's Big
Oh, maybe
Cartel. Yeah, you're on Big
Big Cartel.
Cartel.
Yeah, yeah. Vivat Virtute on Big Cartel, and yeah, I think there's a Vivat Virtute Instagram.
Yeah.
So yeah, those kind of things for sure, for sure.
Well, John, I also love that you do all your local delivery for anybody who buys
Yes.
some of your weaving or t-shirts. You've got I see the picture here. It's a bicycle with a
Yeah,
basket on the front of it for some local deliveries.
one of
Um,
our Dutch bikes. Yeah, we've done some rides that have been further than we thought. Yeah, we've spent some time
well,
riding around this.
I'm a very prolific cyclist here in Buffalo, New
Wow.
York. So I'm out there hammering into the headwinds all the time as well. So anybody who gets you out there on your bike to deliver some stuff, they're keeping us young, keeping us mobile.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
well, thank you both so much for coming on to talk about this song. Vivat Virtute presents 50/50 funding and the After School Leaders Program as well. Thank you for shouting out Rusty Robot. Laura Cameron, John Samson Fellows, thank you so much for joining me on Unscripted Moments to chat about this new tune and the work that you all are doing to make Manitoba let me get this right, a greener, fairer, and friendlier place. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks so much, Greg.
50/50 funding for a greener, for a fairer. We need 50/50 funding for a friendly Manitoba.